What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Screen Sanctum. I'm Steve. I just got out of Superman about 5 minutes ago, and I want to give my non-spoiler thoughts really quick. I have some bullet points. I just want to get through it. Obviously not going to go into detail because there are no spoilers, so you don't have to worry about that. And we could discuss it in the comments after, because I think this is going to be a movie with a lot of discussion points in it. But here we go. The question that everyone comes to these videos for is, one, was it a good movie? Two, did you like the movie? Did you love the movie? Did you hate the movie? For me, and stick with me here, this isn't a hard concept to grasp. Was the movie good? The movie was amazingly good. It was a James Gunn comic book movie. James Gunn very rarely puts out a bad movie when it comes to comics. Second question, did I like the movie? It was fine. It was fine to me. And then you ask, how could you say the movie was very good and you just thought it was fine? Well, here's the thing. The movie is very cartoony, very comic booky, and I'm not a comic book reader. My introduction to DC and Marvel were the movies. So, and again, I'm not a super fan of the DCEU. I enjoyed those movies with all the flaws they had. And the MCU, I enjoy all those movies with the flaws that they have. And the reason why I do is because they're more realistic to me. And I know it's hard to say comic books realistic, but this is the way I put it. This Superman movie feels like they took me and put me in a comic book, right? The MCU feels like the superheroes were pulled from the comics and put into our world. I don't know how more to explain it, but that's just how it feels. Superman was funny and goofy like a comic book. I mean, I think Clark said "garsh" like goofy like 3 or 4 times. I've never heard that in something other than like Disney with, again, Goofy. And though I like that it wasn't an origin story, they just picked right up with the action. They did spend, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 minutes in the beginning narrating and showing us or having us read the origin story. I felt like they could have taken that 10 to 15 minutes out of the beginning and maybe put it in the end, to keep it whatever, 2 hours. I know a lot of people said they wish it was 20 minutes longer. I thought it was fine. It's just those first 15 minutes I didn't need. If I want to compare it to other James Gunn movies, I kind of compare it visually and tonally to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But then I take another movie that's not James Gunn, Thor: Love and Thunder, and kind of mash those up. And mostly because of a lot of the jokes. In Volume 2, I remember there were some good jokes, but there were some jokes like "It's Not Ripe," which was terrible and dragged out throughout the whole movie. And this one, Crypto, to me, every time Crypto came on the screen, I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. I get it. You're a cute dog and you're helpful, but it was kind of like that. And to me, this movie and Thor: Love and Thunder had great movies in it. It was just they were undercut sometimes by gags and jokes. And I mean, that's fine if you are into comic booky type movies like this was. But if you're into more realism, I don't think you're going to really laugh. I didn't laugh that much in the movie. There were a couple of times, mostly with Mr. Terrific, and we're going to get to the side characters. And since I just mentioned Crypto, he kind of reminded me of Baby Groot a little bit. Every time the Guardians were in trouble, like Baby Groot would be there and do something. It was kind of Crypto to me. And then we find out at the end there was a reason why Crypto was in it. And to me, it kind of felt like the dog was the reason to put the cameo in. And I'm not going to spoil it, and that's all I'm going to say. The Justice Gang was interesting. Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific. But there were so many characters in this, and I don't want to say I was confused because I wasn't. You could follow this movie perfectly. But in terms of this movie, I think I really only needed Mr. Terrific. I didn't need Guy Gardner, and I really didn't need Hawkgirl. Mr. Terrific probably could have done everything that happened in this movie by himself. He's like the smartest man in the movie. Basically, and I don't know much about DC, but he's kind of like Tony Stark. Like if you need something, Mr. Terrific has it, or can build it, or can hack it. And I don't know. I loved them. And, you know, Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl were good, but I mean, Mr. Terrific, I think, was better than both of them in this movie. Also, at one point, I could have swore Hawkgirl was carrying someone and made hawk noises. Please confirm that. That was like, that's the kind of comic book stuff that just makes me, someone who's not into comic books, roll their eyes a little bit. I thought I heard that. So let me know in the comments if that was true. Another thing a lot of people ask about is the CGI. The CGI overall in the movie was great. Very few pieces here and there were not very good. Baby Joey was terrible to me, that part, but that's fine. It's just a little baby that's on screen for 5 minutes maybe. But the most important scenes to me were really good. The fight with the kaiju was great. The Hammer of Baravia, I'm sure that was CGI when they were flying around. The fight scenes looked good. Very rarely, if Superman was flying and he stopped and you could look at the background for like a split second, you kind of could tell, and didn't take me out. But I would say 90% of the movie, the CGI is perfectly fine. The villains were good. They had Ultraman, who there's a twist, and you could probably figure it out. I did, and I don't know shit about Ultraman. Lex was pretty dope. And to me, I enjoy when there are villains who are just humans to the superhero. Sometimes more than if you have a superhero and the villain is another superhero, because Lex isn't going to fight Superman. He can't. He has to figure out other devious ways to stop him. And he kind of does in this, though the video game aspect of it was really dumb to me. But again, I'm not into comic booky, cartoony type comic book movies. So I'm sure all of you who read comics love it, but it was just like, okay, you playing a PlayStation or Nintendo Switch or something? But again, that's just me. My favorite parts of the movie, it's a toss-up between two scenes. The pocket dimension scene, which was crazy. I think that was the best scene that Lex was in. Holy cow. And that wasn't even that long of a scene, but it blew me away. And then the scene at the Kent farm. That scene was really good. It was so heartfelt, and you could see how disappointed Clark was, but his parents are there, and how loving it was. But like, those were the two most emotional scenes to me in the movie. There were times in like the action sequences of the movie where I did feel emotion, but it wasn't from what I saw on screen. It was the theme. Like, the theme song pulls a lot of weight in this movie, because you could put that Superman theme wherever you want to put it, and you're just going to be like, all right, I'm supposed to feel something here because you're hearing it. And that was really, really cool. And then the last thing that was kind of neat to me is James Gunn is going to make a James Gunn movie. Like, that's all there is to it. And I never would have thought he would be able to fit like pop music into a Superman movie, but he did it perfectly, in my opinion, because he didn't use Superman to do it. That was the key, I think, because if Superman was doing something and they played a pop song, I just would have been like, come on, James, like, you're jumping the shark here. But it was another character's moment to shine, and it worked beautifully. So I know I wanted to keep it short. It's about 10 minutes, but that's basically my non-spoiler review. Yes, this movie was good. If you're a comic book fan, this movie is going to be great for you. And if you're like me and you're not into comic books and you're more into realism, I think it'll just be fine. But all in all, I love seeing comic book readers online giving this a 10 out of 10, loving it, because ultimately that's what these movies are for. They're supposed to be for the comic book reader to see something they've never seen on screen before, depending on your age. But then they're supposed to hook in people like me who don't read comic books and keep me along for the ride. And even though I'm saying I thought this was just fine because it wasn't my thing, I'm going to watch all the DC movies because I don't think they're all going to be the same tone. I understand Superman could be this. Batman is not going to be this. You cannot make a Batman movie unless you have Adam West, that show, but you're not going to make it the same tone. And that's what excites me about this new DC universe. And thinking if they have a dark Batman, and I'm not saying Pattinson because I highly doubt it, but I have one more thing actually to say about that. You couldn't put him in this tone. It would have to be its own tone. But again, without spoiling it, there was a scene in the movie where a guy goes into a room, then goes into a thing to get somewhere else. And I swear to God, I heard the Batman theme. Tell me in the comments below if I'm going crazy, but it sounded just like one of the themes from the Batman score. So that's my non-spoiler review. Let's talk about it down below. What did you all think? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? I'd rather not fight about this. It's just my opinion. So let's just talk about it, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, guys.